Hey, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Hello, turf heads. Hello, turf monkeys. How are you? I hope you're well. My name is Dave Wilber. My friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. And I am here today to talk to you all, ladies and gentlemen, about the things that are in my mind, the multiple things that just cloud my brain. And we're going to have a good time today. How are you? I hope things are well for you. July 3rd, 2021. I was thinking when the calendar turns July, it's you either think, well, it's all downhill from here, it's all uphill from here. I don't know. What do we think? In our business, who knows for sure how it all goes? And as always, we want to start out talking a little bit about the weather, and the weather around the country in the United States has been a little whack. My friends in the Pacific Northwest let's see, how do I explain this? How do I explain it? Apocalyptic? Oh no, it's probably the over dramatic, but it's been, well, I don't know about that. I shouldn't say that. Friends in Northern California, in British Columbia are seeing some real fire activity, and it's been kind of scary. And if you haven't seen that stuff in the news, I'll let you go find it. Holy cow, fire season already upon the West Coast, but unseasonably warm temperatures in all the West Coast. I've talked to some people in Seattle, Portland, even Montana, who are experiencing temperatures they've never experienced and conditions they've never experienced. And it's like, wow, that's not good. So while some of us have had it fairly easy, in some places other people have not. And I feel for them. I really do. What's interesting, I put a thing out on Twitter yesterday, and I just said that, no amount of water is going to lower your soil temperatures, to which it got a whole bunch of likes, as many likes as I've had on a Twitter post in a long time. I got a little bit of back and forth with some people sharing their experiences, and then I don't know, out of the blue, like a couple of bizarre accounts trying to lecture me about turfgrass. Kind of funny. I don't want to let my ego get in the way, but really? You gonna tell me how it works? And not just me, but you gonna tell us? Like, my Twitter feed is filled with some pretty cool people, and pretty cool people hanging out, saying some things. So, oh, careful, Mr. Landscaper. You may have walked into an area where you're a little out of your league. Hey, I just want to remind you that the chat is open. Please feel free to bump in there, say anything, ask anything you want. We had some good stuff last episode from all that. Hottest June on record in Eastern Mass, Kevin says from the chat. Memorial and 4th of July weekend set record lows. Wow, really? So this weekend, record lows. That's crazy. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin. Crazy. What's up with all this, man? Wild weather. I know. Oh, we're not going to have a climate change discussion, are we? No, I'm not going to go there today. But, come on. If you don't think this is all very strange. Speaking of climate change, what did I watch? New movie on now it all slipped my brain. New Amazon Prime movie with Chris Pratt. Oh, come on, what's the name of the thing? I don't know. It just started streaming yesterday, and they got time travel mixed in with climate change. Very strange. Entertaining movie, clearly not real. By the way, speaking of movies, there's only one movie for 4th of July weekend. Independence Day. And please help me celebrate let's just have a, well, here, we got the right music on. As, ladies and gentlemen, Russell Case. Russell Case gave his all. Gave his all so that we could be saved from the aliens. And Will Smith. Gee, let's not forget Will. Although Russell gave his all. I think Will got to come back to Earth, didn't he? Anyway, don't forget to watch Independence Day this weekend. It's one of the dumbest and finest movies ever made. Do not watch the sequel. Not okay. That movie, not okay. The original Independence Day, it's absolute brilliance. Jeff Goldblum, Will Smith, of course, Randy Quaid as Russell Case. Yeah, man. That's where it's at. Traditionally, for we Americans, for we Yankees, 4th of July, I don't know, means a lot of things. In my neighborhood, it means we've light off fireworks starting about a week ago. Last night was not as bad as the night before. That's kind of weird, isn't it? But yeah, the fireworks will be going hot and heavy where I live. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I never will. I don't like to blow stuff up. I never had that sort of pyromania in my deal. Occasionally launched a few rockets, but didn't really need to make things go boom. But evidently lots of people where I live need to make things go boom. So that's where it works. Yeah. All right. So what else is going on? Again, chat is open. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me a ton. We are slowly climbing up in subscribers, and I am forever grateful for all that. 55 and rain here north of Boston. First 4th of July, I won't be pulling a hose, right? Yeah, man. That's crazy, huh? Yeah, that's so different. I know it's actually unseasonably cool here in Colorado, where I am today. This is like, wow, you know. Anyway, I don't know. I put blues music on today, power blues. I'm sneaking in a couple of my creations in there, but I don't know. Got some other stuff. So I don't know. Is it summertime blues yet? I don't really know. What I wanted to talk about, for a lot of people, it's really not summertime blues. What I wanted to talk about today, what I wanted to spend some time talking about, agenda-wise, and of course, again, you guys in chat, feel free to add anything, ask anything. You are more than welcome. It was a couple of years ago about this time that I wrote a blog post for TurfNet that ended up being one of the most popular things that I ever wrote. And it was right about this time of year. It was a simple thing. I was actually just trying to get something together, and I very quickly wrote this. And as sometimes happens with me, you know, some of the stuff that turns out to be people's favorite is the stuff that I write on my iPhone when I'm on the go. And this one was no exception to that. I wrote this on my iPhone when I was on the go, on the roll. And so I don't know. What I thought I would do is just share a few things from that. And I want to talk to you guys about why it's so incredibly important to be a good communicator in our business. You know, I know I talk about this a lot. I get asked to speak about this, and it is one of my passions for sure. And partially one of my passions because and again, I've talked about this and I don't want to go into it too much, but I'm incredibly dyslexic. I dealt with dyslexia all my life. I was slow to learn how to read. It wasn't recognized in the 70s very well. It wasn't until I got to college and I was really, really struggling that a very astute teacher said, you know, let's send you to the, I don't know what she call it, the reading lab, you know. And I got tested and it's like, oh yeah, you're dyslexic. Mostly I have it conquered. I had to learn some real techniques. I had to learn how to use type size, type style to my advantage. I had to learn to use pattern recognition, a lot of things that most people don't have to do when they read. I never really did learn to read music, which is sad because I love music so much, but reading music for me just never really set in. I can kind of do it, but I could never read and play at the same time. Never can figure that out, which is sad. But that's how it worked, right? So dyslexia has always been part of my thing. And so, going back to high school, it's so weird that I involve myself in these things, but I was always fascinated with the written word. I think once I really got reading together, it's like I wanted to read a lot of stuff. I wanted to read about the world. I wanted to read about the planet. I think I've said this before, but I used to take National Geographic magazine that my parents subscribed to and just devour it cover to cover when it, and no, not just for the boob pictures. I mean, come on, you guys. Stop that. Yeah, back in the day, National Geo, every once in a while, had some, native culture things, what shall we say? But no, I love Nat Geo. I still love it to this day. I love it. And in fact, I have I'm laughing because I actually have a nickname that I give some people that have a lot of issues. I call them Nat Geo. You hear about Nat Geo? That person's got a lot of issues. Anyway, I don't know, whatever. So what I'm saying is that, when I'm interested, right? And this is the ADD ADHD brain, which it turns out is my real diagnosis, is when you're interested in something, you can do anything, right? So if I needed to read something that I was interested in, I figured out a way. And the same thing went with writing. I became fascinated with writing, probably because I was motivated by journalism. I was motivated by a talk that I heard once about gonzo journalism. Thomas Wolfe, Hunter Thompson, all those people who were in the middle of things, Jack Kerouac, those kinds of people. Storytelling. Now I think we call it, would say more like storytelling. But back in the day, it had a lot to do with, with just, I'd be fascinated by the stories of everyone and everything, right? That was my deal. And so I learned, to be a fair, decent writer. It's just, again, the dyslexia thing really throws a wrench into how you may think about this, but I edited my school paper, co-editor of the school newspaper, was super involved with the high school yearbook, although I was more involved in the picture side of it. I actually ran the darkroom. So funny. But I wrote a bunch of stuff for that too, but I was, when there was a story to tell, I wanted to learn to tell it, right? So a lot of people have asked me, and I'll read you the original question that inspired the blog post. And it went something like this. It said, Dave, I had my annual review with my GM, and his biggest issue with me is communication, especially my written communications. I feel judged harshly. I've never been a very good writer. Can you give me any help? It's sad that the golf course is so good, but he still has a problem with me. And there was an air of desperation in this question. Like, what the hell do I do? I mean, first of all, if you think that you can ever make every GM happy, well, that's just never going to happen, right? I mean, let's face it. But, I got this question and I thought, man, this is so common. This is one of those things where so many golf course superintendents, so many turf heads, so many sports turf managers, anybody. I mean, and I'm speaking to assistant superintendents and assistants in training here too, because some of you were, yeah, I get some of your notes too, and it's like, really? And I'm pretty bold about that. I'm like, hey, come on, polish that up a little bit, will you? I remember I had an assistant who, he had an employee problem one weekend, and I asked him to write up the situation, right? And it was, I don't know if it was necessarily a test per se, but I mean, obviously we wanted to document that situation, but I just wanted to see how he would do. Josh Clevenger, good morning. It says Josh says in chat, and I'm reading these chats, you guys, because I know some of you are not watching the chat. He says, listening to you every Saturday, rain forecast for the 4th here in Flagstaff. Summer rain, not something I'm used to. Yeah, right. Josh coming from Northern California and at his new place in Flagstaff. And Josh, it was fantastic to talk to you the other day and also to have input from your guys who seem incredibly passionate. Got a note from JP this week. Dave, are you gonna be at the National? I want to have a beer with you, you know, that whole thing. And I was on the run, and I said, he wrote this really nice long message, and I said, I don't know yet, we'll see. That was kind of my message back. I should do better. Sometimes sometimes on a roll. Isn't that part of it though? You know, coming back to this writing thing, I mean, it's like, man, sometimes we have time, you know, to sit and really craft the words and do all that. Sometimes we have no time. So anyway, getting back to my story, I asked this assistant if he wouldn't just write up the discipline problem that he had. And he wrote me this ridiculous thing. I don't know what it was like, you know, I don't even, I think I still have it in a file folder somewhere, but the original document that he handed me, and I looked at him and I said, no, this says nothing. Come on now. I mean, really? You want me to put this on the GM's desk, the human resources lady's desk? I mean, this is dumb. Come on, you can do better. Right? And I was, you know, when I was in my 20s, I was kind of brash. Just put it that way. So, yeah, you know, it was like, come on, dude, you got to do better. So then the next thing he wrote me was slightly better, but still really shitty. And I said, listen, I need you to write this with half the number of words that you use, right? Whatever. Count the words and write the whole thing with half the number of words. And, so we did this shit for about a week, you know, and finally I was like, what? How can you possibly, you know, because, you know, an aspiring golf course superintendent, right? And I'm like, how are you going to do, what are you going to do when you have to write the green committee thing? And a flash, right? Big idea in my head, right? And I said, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll handle this human resources thing because now I know what happened. We'll clean this up and let's get this behind us. I said, but what I want you to do is I want you to take an hour today and I want you to write the green committee report. You know, we got green committee meeting, golf committee meeting, whatever it was there coming up. I want you to write it for me. Write it like you would write it if you were going to that meeting. And again, the thing that he handed me was absolute horseshit. And I said, listen, dude, no, we have to do better. Like, come on. So then we worked on it together and I explained to him, you know, what I'm looking for, showed him, I think he had seen a couple of my past, I think I handed all of my guys who were interested the past green committee meeting things that I wrote. So he'd seen what I'd written, but it's like, hey, we have to be able to communicate. And so that leads me to what I want to talk about today, which is like, you know, summertime communication, right? It's incredibly important. And I know you guys are busy. You're running with your hair on fire. You got nobody on your staff. I've heard all the stories. I know. So whether I'm speaking to superintendents, whether I'm speaking to assistants in training, you know, anybody in the sports turf world, anybody that has anything to do with the school system in any way, I mean, here it all comes, right? July. I mean, I think it looked like they were starting some kind of football practice or something at the high school down the road from me the other day when I drove by. There are definitely some larger sized kids out there running about. Maybe they were just doing it on their own. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's all coming, right? So let's talk about some keys. Let's talk about some keys. And again, some of you may have read this blog post that I'm talking about. I'm not going to read it to you today. I'm not going to do that because I want this to be a little more podcastable. Okay. But what I said to this person who said, hey, I had my annual review with my GM just to go back and, you know, what do you have for tips? And again, I wrote this, you know, really by the side of the road. And I said, hey, the first thing, you know, if you want to be a great writer, And this has come from some writer friends, some people who make money as writers, right? Like, if you want to be a great writer, be a great reader. Ah, Dave, summertime, man, I don't have time to read. Yes, you do. You have time to read. And by the way, I'm not talking about trying to read the Turfgrass book or, read the magazine or whatever. Get a book, man. Get a great book. And my suggestion in the blog post was to read one of my favorite authors, Jack Kerouac. And I always say, hey, get this collection of essays from Jack Kerouac called The Lonesome Traveler. There's one in particular that sticks out. It's called Alone on a Mountaintop, and it's about the summer that Kerouac spent in a fire tower in California, looking for fires, looking for lightning strikes and stuff, and being all alone. And it was fantastic writing. And I think great writers, no matter what, can take a simple subject and make it into a great story and a passionate thing, right? And that's what you want to do. Now, it goes a little bit further. Be a good reader, but learn to read aloud. Start of this boot camp, if you really want to get to be a better communicator, is read aloud. Hear that voice, hear your own cadence. I read a paragraph and you read a paragraph. It's going to be two different things, right? You're going to have a way that you read, a way that you speak, a way that you communicate. Even something simple, it will be different than mine. Read some pieces aloud, especially reading somebody else's story. Hear your voice in it, right? Hey, I'm reading this other guy's thing, but it's my voice doing it. Read aloud, even if it's just a paragraph. Even if, I hate to say this, but even read your Twitter feed aloud. I know it seems silly, right? When people see you doing this, they're going to laugh at you, and that's just the way it is. Too damn bad. Read aloud. Get that thing together, right? All right, so let's jump to part 2 of, hey, I want to be a better writer. I want to be able to communicate something. So here it is, right? Write something every day. A published author friend of mine told me, you want to be a writer? Write. Sit down and write something. Twitter post. Logbook entry. Something. Use that muscle. Yeah? It's a muscle. You gotta work it out. And just write something every day. Write something every day. And there's a next step to this, right? So this is like step 2, and then I'm going to give you 2A. Take what you wrote and read it out loud. Listen, I have done this. Take what you wrote and read it out loud. I help a lot of people with their resumes and their cover letters and stuff, and I love it. It's a passion of mine. I charge a few bucks for it to take up my time. I always spend way more time than I charge for, because that's who I am. But one of the things I'll do is somebody will send me their cover letter and I'll read it and I'll go, and then I'll read it out loud. And I go, I don't know who sounds like this. Nobody sounds like this. And I'll send it back to the golf course superintendent or whoever, assistant, whoever I'm helping, and I'll say, hey, do me a favor and just read this to yourself out loud. I mean, does that sound like you? Does that sound like who you are? I'm reading these things sometimes, and it's like robotic, or it just doesn't, it doesn't have a flow. It doesn't have a piece. Now I write if you read my blog posts and the things I've written, I write in a slightly informal style. I write like I talk. Well, I don't write as bad as I talk. I have a little bit of a stronger voice. I'm a little more organized when I'm writing. But like I use words like gonna and through, THRU, and things like that, right? It's purposeful. I have that in my writing style. But when I'm writing a little bit more business oriented, when I'm writing an agronomy report for somebody or, something else, then, I tune it up a little bit, right? So I have some different voices. Everybody has a voice. It's about developing your voice, right? So, if you write something, read it aloud and just see how it sounds. Is that my voice? And if it's not your voice, then try again. Now, we happen to have some really excellent tools in our world now where you can, basically speak into your iPhone and get a transcription. Try it. It's not going to be perfect, right? It's not going to be exact. But just, the next time that you want to, think of 3 sentences you want to communicate to a higher up, and speak that out loud. Golf course is good. We're slightly overwatered, but we're kind of preparing for temperatures. But I'm happy with where we are. Okay? Like something like that, right? Like I just spit out 3-4 sentences. Let the iPhone translate that and read it back, and it's like, is that me? Instead of, let me give you an example. Instead of something where you say, I, Dave Wilber, think my golf course is very good and maybe even a little bit on the wet side, but we've had, come on. No. I, Dave Wilber. I'm laughing because that one assistant started like all of his employee write-ups that we were working on with I blank blank blank. I won't say his name. Doesn't matter. I blah blah. Being of sound mind and body, did witness, the employee blah 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 blah. Come on. Like, really? Like, what are you doing? Writing a police report? No, come on. Do better, right? Read your stuff out loud. I always read my stuff out loud. I have to, partially because of my dyslexia. I end up putting words and letters in the wrong places. And if you ever read my Twitter feed, you'll see that I make some common mistakes because of the way that I see things, right? So I'll often write a Twitter post or something, and then I'll read it out loud as part of my editing process. And it's something I have to do. But the thing is that I hear my voice in it, right? So you've been reading, so you get used to hearing your voice. And you see how you read. Now write and listen to your voice. See what I'm getting at? And again, did that sound like you? Take something you've written and say, does that sound like me? And if it doesn't, then do it again. I'm reminded of that great scene in the movie The River Run Through It, where Tom Skerritt is working with his sons. Tom Skerritt's he's the fly fisherman preacher, and he's obviously he's homeschooling his boys, and they both end up being writers or English people or whatever. I mean, that's the book was based on a true story, and he has the kid write something, and then he says once again with half the words, and then the kid comes back, he's like and then once again half the words. Right, get used to communicating your point in your voice, the least amount of words possible. So I think that's part of it too. Is this is the one sub point that I was getting to, is a lot of people just use too many words. Listen, when I speak, I'm using a lot of words. When I write, I'm using far fewer. So I get that. Everybody should get that. All right, so read what you write aloud. Next point. Outlines. Forget it. Forget outlines. I know very few really, really great writers that make outlines other than when they're trying to plot out a novel or whatever. I've been to the writers' camps. I've done the work, and outlining is something that for so many people is a time-consuming thing, and it is a brain buster. Okay? Now, let me qualify that a little bit, because I got a lot of questions about this. A lot of people are like, well, I was taught different or whatever. So like, for instance, with the way that I write a Green Committee report, or how I used to write a Green Committee report, I had my sections, where we are, where we're going, current situation, whatever. I had my sections, and you fill in those sections, right? That's not really an outline. That's just, that's formatting a little bit. And it was also designed so that the people that were reading that got used to, what I was going to put in front of them. right? So it was like, my current status always had our heights of cut, and and then my next thing was, challenges, or issues, big issues, things. I just went through the thing, and then always finish with what I need. What I'm asking for, Mr. and Mrs. Havocamp, keep your golf course good. Anyway, a format, right? And then I do the same thing. Like I have a basic format that I use when I'm writing an agronomy report. I have a, but that's different. That's not an outline. People, when they get outlining, they just go way too far. It's a waste of time, and it's a brain buster. And there are very few people that can take an outline and turn it into something that isn't robotic and doesn't read like shit. So don't do that. Okay? Don't worry about it. If you need to make some bullet points, great. Just make a talking point, right? Here's 3 things I want everybody to know. It's 3 things I want to communicate in this writing. That's different. That's not necessarily outlining. I'm talking about the, 1, 2, 3, and then A, B, C, and, subparts and all that sort of stuff. No, it just hurts people's heads. Okay. So don't do it. All right. Next point. Get some grammar software. What, Dave? You? Writer Dave uses, yes, I use Grammarly. It's like a plugin in my browser. I think it plugs into the various things that I use. I don't know that it really, does it do it in my iPhone on everything? I don't know. It's in there. Occasionally I'll cut and paste into Grammarly or whatever, but like everybody needs an editor. Again, another writer friend of mine that writes for a living said every writer needs an editor. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, isn't that bad? Aren't you? No, I need an editor. Everybody needs an editor, right? Many world-class writers are notoriously bad spellers, bad typists, and I need more than spell check. You need more than spell check. You need something that says, hey, this is grammar that's incorrect. You should have used there, and there, things like that, I think are kind of basic, but a lot of times, it gets messed up, right? And again, we're talking about developing a muscle here, right? So when you see the software telling you that you make a similar mistake, in a bunch of different, then you say, okay, I need to watch for this, right? Long sentences, run-on sentences, all those sorts of things, that they're gonna. This is gonna help you. It's not a sign of weakness. So there's lots of good, in computer, in the box editors, I call it. Again, I use Grammarly. It seems to be the one that works best for me. It's it's kind of there, running in the background. And you don't always have to do what it says. I mean, sometimes it's gonna make suggestions that don't sound like you. Don't use them. But at least you're getting, things. Matt says 0.5 inches of rain last night. Breath of fresh air after a long stretch. Nice to breathe a little here in Buffalo. Enjoy the weekend. Great. Matt, thank you for sharing that. I love I can get turf heads talking by talking about the weather. It's by design, folks. Okay. So get some grammar software, use it, right? And I'm talking beyond the usual spell checker. Please, just do it. It will help you. Okay, next thing, right? Slow down. Slow down. Very few people can write on deadline and do it well. I know you've seen the movies, you see the newspaper guy, is just finishing just at the very end or whatever, but that's usually not how great writers do it. I can do it that way. Like, I can be pushed into a moment where I have to create something, but it's hard on my brain, hard on your brain, right? I mean, the example I like to use, it's 3 p.m. and you have a 5 p.m. green committee meeting and you haven't started on your report. Listen, you're going to fail. Like, it's not going to work. This is not going to come out well. How about that email that's really, really important? and you sit down and blast out something and it's just wrong. Like, don't do that. Write a draft. I don't do a lot of drafts, but I definitely write something and then I get away from it. And I guess you could call that a first draft, right? But I'll write it, put it together, read through it once, get the obvious, dyslexic Dave errors out of it, and then I get away from it. You know who else does this kind of thing? It's not in writing, but a lot of the great shapers and architects and stuff that I've had a chance to work in our business, they'll work on something and they'll get away from it for a while because they're just seeing it too much. And it's the same thing, right? Again, some of my blog posts that have gotten a lot of views or some of my best, reports have been written by the side of the road. It's rare. What I usually want to do is I want to write something. I want to let it marinate. Matt says that he worked for a great super that had me read all email communications with the GM and taught me a great deal, especially turning negative into a positive and showing where your needs are. Wow, that's brilliant. That's off to him, man. Fantastic. Yeah, read what other people are saying, and learn those responses. It's a great job. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Good job, Matt. So yeah, man, you slow down, don't produce nonsense on deadline. Again, there are very few people who are not professional full-time writers that can really pull that together. And again, most of my professional full-time writer friends, even the ones that are more journalistic oriented, they don't do that. They know better. They know that they've got to, they got to write this thing. They got to look at this thing. They got to get away from it and then come back to it. Right. And that rewrite often ends up being the thing. Now, sometimes the best stuff is in the first take, as in music, really. I mean, certainly some of the best things I've recorded are, in my first take, right? Like it can be that way, but it's not always that way. And again, I'm thinking about a friend of mine, a pro musician who's also a really good producer. He'll be working on a piece and then he'll just like stop and get away from it for a little while and then come back to it and get some perspective. So that's that slowing down part. Listen, the 3 p.m. Green Committee report for the 5 p.m. Green Committee meeting is going to kick your ass every time, or at least it's going to not be as good as it could be. So don't do it. Right? And even if you don't finish every point, let's just say that you sit down to write that Green Committee report and you go, okay, here's the 7 things, right? Those bullet points, maybe fill in a little bit. You have this document working. That's going to end up being the best. Right? I mean, the meeting's once a month. Damn it. You knew it was coming up. Time management, right? Okay. Next point, relax and be real. So we kind of talked about voice a little bit, but bad business writing is just not real. And most of us don't need to communicate that way. And in a time where, Matt talked about emails and stuff, and it's like, there is a certain amount of mass communication that seems to happen in people's words, so, when your words lose reality, they lose oomph, So going back to that situation that I talked about with my assistant, right? And I'll just read this a little bit to you. It says, I asked an assistant of mine to write up an employee discipline issue. He handed me a paper that tried to read like some kind of weird police report. That's what he was trying to do. And he was trying to write the police report. And later we talked about that. And that's what he was, I was thinking about, like a police report. I'm like, really? Oh, okay. But it was awkward and it had these, all kinds of weird facts. At 10:02, he came in the front door to the office. I mean, it was filled with shit like that, right? It didn't, what actually happened was lost in the thing, right? So we had this lesson in the meeting realized says, hey, what's the biggest thing that went wrong? Oh, employee had been late on, for 2 weekend shifts. Okay, write that. Jeffy was late for 2 weekend shifts. When did it happen? What did the employee say? What did Jeffy say? Well, my girlfriend, didn't wake me up or whatever. Okay. So these are the things you write. What's our policy on being late? Don't be late, and damn sure don't be late on the weekends. Okay. And then, lastly, what do we do to correct this? What is the corrective action? Are we gonna fire Jeffy? Are we gonna, what are we gonna do? Right? What's the corrective action based on our policies and our situation? Right? Now take all those answers to the things I just asked you. When, who, what to do. Write it. And he finally got it, by the way. It took us days. And he never turned anything into me again that was bullshit. He was like, okay, thank you, for teaching me that. All right, so there it is, right? Relax and be real. Write something that's real. Don't try to write the police report when you're trying to, that's not how it works. Yeah, a friend of mine, a journalist, said one time, like, the good journalism is based on writing in 4th grade language that everybody understands. Kind of sad, but explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, right? Kind of thing. Explain it to me like I'm a 5th grader. All right, how about this next one? Be brave. Great words are courageous. Great words are courageous. It's like, I want to use the best words that are in front of me. I want to use the best ideas that I can. I want to get them out on paper. It's like, I've said this before, it's like going to the store and finding the best thing in the store. It's like going to the butcher shop, finding the best cut of meat, right? I want to use the best words that I can get for me. I need to be brave to use those words to make my point. I have to do that, right? If I'm pissed off, carry that emotion. If I don't care, then it can be communicated. This isn't an issue. It's okay to show your emotion in writing. You have to. Use language that doesn't leave any doubt where you stand. Don't be passive. Put people to a decision when they read your words. Hey, they're not always going to agree with you. That's okay. I'm not looking to get everybody to agree with me when I write something. No, not at all. In fact, I'm not, no. If I write a post agronomy visit report or something like that, I'm sure that there's some people going to read that. They're going to, this guy's full of shit, because they don't know what we talk about. I mean, hopefully I'm a better salesman than that, but I'm not going to mince my words, I always talk about Anthony Bourdain. I always thought Anthony Bourdain was brave in his words, just used words really bravely. He didn't stay away from the truth. When he said it, he said it. His original book was just Kitchen Confidential, was insanely filled with truth. I'm thinking about Tom Doak, golf course architect Tom Doak, when he wrote his original confidential guide, that it was 40 pages on a kind of a copy machine kind of manuscript. And he said what he saw and what he felt like was right and wrong. Some of it was pretty raw, but it was real and it was good. And that's why, that's why his original published version of the confidential guide sells for a lot of money. And there's now a second confidential guide, right? It's the truth, right? Let me give you a turf head example. A guy sends me his justification. He wanted me to help him with his justification for, maintenance facility redo. And I read it and I was like, what's the problem? I said, wow, if your current shop is this good, I don't know why they would build you a new one. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about, Dave? You know my shop, you've been there, and he says he just got really mad, and I was trying to make a point, right? So I wanted him to get a little upset. He says, this place is a garbage dump. This shop is a garbage dump. It's just and every time we fix it, all we're doing is just, putting new things, hanging new things on the walls of the garbage dump. And I said, well, why didn't you write that? Dude, I can't write that. I said, why not? You're trying to sell something. You're trying to get to do something about your broken, busted, horrible shop facility. Write that, right? The lead in his first paragraph became, our current maintenance facility is an unsafe garbage dump. That's a true story. He wrote that. It was the lead line to the second version of his report. And the problem was recognized, and eventually they figured it out, and they got a shop renovation together. Best that they could. They did great. See, words are powerful. If you say, if you're beating around the bush about something that you're trying to get people to understand, they're not going to understand it. They're not going to understand you. They're not going to understand the whole thing, right? So use words that are going to, that are going to make a difference. Like, dig in, I am unhappy with the current situation is costing us X. Unnecessarily, things like that, right? Like, not passive voice, not, well, it might be a good idea if we might look into, fuck no. No, that is not it, man. That is not it. And look, I've written some stuff knowing full well that I'm probably never going to get invited back here. But it's my truth, right? It's like, this is what I see. This is what I believe. This is what I want to say. This is what I think I'm hired to do. And so, why would I mess around? Why would I think around with the words? It's like, hey, listen, your golf course is going the wrong direction. There are some things here that are not working. Most of them are not your superintendent's fault. Let's get it together and see if we can't figure out a way to get you on a better path. Now that I can live with. And in my time writing, doing consulting, doing agronomy, doing, whatever it is, my time as a golf course superintendent, in other areas of my life where I've, needed to write to solve an issue. I never say never that often, but I've never seen a situation where a passive voice and beating around the bush ever really got anything done. Say it straight, say it forcefully, use the words. Our current maintenance facility is an unsafe garbage dump, and we shouldn't be dealing with it much longer. It's a little extreme, but it worked. It worked with this particular group of people and all that sort of stuff. I mean, sure, there's a bunch of different ways to write that sentence. Be spellbinding. Be brave. Great writers are brave. J.K. Rowling, when you say whatever you want about her politics and her social stance and all that sort of stuff, but man, she was brave when she was writing Harry Potter books. So brave. Tolkien was brave when he was writing The Lord of the Rings. And yes, that's fiction writing, all that sort of stuff, but I'm thinking about just, oh man, I mean, just so many great articles that you may have read. Think about it. The next time you read a great article in a newspaper, on a website or whatever, look at the braveness in the words. It's a great way to determine, whether something you're reading is really that good. It's like, is there power in this? Is there bravery? Is this somebody I would get behind? Is an opinion piece, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Again, I suffer from a condition called dyslexia. It is one of my hangups. It's hard. I have some days where I just can't, like my brain will just not, I can sit and read the same sentence over and over and over again, and it just makes no sense to me. I don't even know what the words are saying. It's hard. If I'm tired, if I'm depressed, if I'm sick, it just gets worse, right? And I have to get through that. So the above stuff, right? All the things that I just went through, like these are the things that I've applied to my own life to become a good writer, to get paid to write, to get paid to consult, because written product is a very good thing. And I always want to say, you know, this is one of those situations where it's like, if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, my dyslexia can be so bad some days, I say this to people, I can't even read a stop sign. Like if it wasn't like red and octangular, I wouldn't know what the letters are on it. It's horrible. I would never wish that on anybody. I really wouldn't. It's horrible. I mean, I feel so bad about myself, and it's so much at the root of, you know, of how I feel about me. And I try to get past that now, and I've learned a lot of tools to do that. But, you know, I went a lot of years where I was just like, God, I'm a moron, right? I remember one time I was buying a car, and the whole process, you know how it is, man, buying a car. And I was just, you know, it had gone on way too long, and finally we get to the, you know, read the contract part of it, and I fucking can't. I can't read the contract. I don't even know what I'm signing, you know, or what the numbers say, right? And I was just like, you know, I'm having the finance, so explain this to me. You know, I have all these ways that I do to get around it, to get other people to read for me, you know? And I was just so like, I walked out of there and I was like, yeah, you know, I just bought a new car. That's great. Needed a new car. But I'm a complete dumbass because I really couldn't read the documents that I just signed, you know, same thing, you know, various times. Spreadsheets for me are incredibly hard. And yet I love them, right? Like I love the numbers and stuff. So that's how that works. So listen, here it is, man. Let's go over it again, just really quick to wrap up, and then we'll wrap up. Read aloud. Okay. Good writers are good readers. Write every day. Write something every day. And then read it aloud. Got it? Read and read aloud. Write something and read it aloud. Get my point? Give up on outlining and all that kind of stuff. Not going to work. Not really. You know. Get some good grammar software. Like I say, you know, Grammarly works for me. There are others. I've used others. This is the current one. Use it. Use the tools, okay? Not just spell correct, not just autocorrect. Go further. Slow down, take some time with your writing. Don't push yourself up against a deadline and write some nonsense. If the GM says, hey, I got to have that on my desk by, you know, 5 p.m. today, just tell them, hey, I'm running the golf course and you're going to have to wait for that. And don't put something on his or her desk that is unreadable. Don't do it. Relax and be real. Write something that makes sense. Write something in a voice that makes sense. You know, be real. Use real words. Okay? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. There's a reason that works. Be brave with your words. Be brave with your writing. Show emotion. Use language that doesn't leave people wondering what you're really thinking. If you believe it and you mean it, say it. All right? Words are powerful tools, and you're powerless if you don't use them. And in the summertime now, I want to tie this together at the end. Summertime communications, right? A lot of times something's going to go wrong. Something's going to go weird. Something's going to go not planned. This is our business. Whatever it is, write well about it. You guys that have written about your weather this morning, okay? Just do yourselves an exercise. And maybe all of us could do this, you know? Write a paragraph or two about what your current weather situation is and how that's impacted your business or your operation or your world. I mean, you guys have done great, right? Here it is, you know, 0.5 inches of rain last night, breath of fresh air. I love that. After a long stretch. Nice to breathe. Yeah, like I love that, right? Turn that into something. You know, dear Mr. Green Chairman, just wanted to let you know that we got half an inch of rain last night, and it really was a breath of fresh air for us and our crew. We got a chance to take a breath. It's been a long stretch. We've really put in a lot of hours, And this is really helpful for the moment. The challenge is blah, blah, you know what I'm saying? Like, really? No, you can do that. When Kevin, in his first thing here, hottest June on record. I don't think that's mincing any words, right? Maybe a lot of these people don't know that. So tell them. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know we've had the hottest June on record. And even though it's cooled down just a little bit here for the 4th of July weekend, I'm still really kind of in catch-up mode, and you're going to see us doing a lot of things to try to catch up. I don't know. I'm just riffing here, right? You know what I'm saying? Be a good summertime communicator. Last part of the summertime communication thing is, look, there's some times when you have to communicate bad news. Don't be a bullshitter. Don't try to take bad news and turn it into, well, it's not as bad as you might. No, just say it. Hey, you know what? We had a stretch of 100+ degree days like the golf course has never seen. And I don't know what it means for us right now or for the near future, but I know right now we're just playing cut. You know what I'm saying, right? Hey, the irrigation system failed because our pump station is a garbage dump. And then say what happened. And there it is. All right. That's it. That's my thing for today. What do you guys think in chat? Anybody have anything they want to say before we start to wrap things up? I've been doing a pretty good job of keeping these around an hour. It's kind of working. Hard for me. Those of you that know me know that, like, in an hour, I'm just starting to warm the engines, man. Just starting to twist the throttle. Anyway, I want to tell you guys that I love you all and I appreciate your support. Please, again, like and subscribe to the channel here. It makes a huge difference. It doesn't cost you anything, and it continues to improve my YouTube algorithm and my search to improve this thing. Search to make this thing more palatable for more people. And you know what? This is my passion. I love to communicate. I love it. I love our business. I love to communicate. I love who we are. I love who you all are. And it's really, really, really a joy to get to be able to spend this time with you, and a couple of people have said to me, it's like, why are you doing this? And it's like, I can't not do it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I can't not do it. Like that's just it. I have to do this. I don't know if that makes sense. But I think sometimes when something's a passion, and you say, I have to do it. I said that before when I first started this thing. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having incredibly good feedback from all of you. I'm watching chat to see if anybody's got anything else to say. Many of you I see are watching in the, you're not caught up to real time here, and I get all that. So feel free to DM me. Best place to catch me is on Twitter. You can send your questions there. At the Wilber Force on Twitter. That's easy. Yeah, blues music for summertime blues today. I think that's good. All right. My name is Dave Wilber. My friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. I am an agronomy consultant, turfgrass consultant, coach, spiritual mentor, any of those things that you may say. And I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please look at my other videos and all that sort of stuff. And again, one more time, please like and subscribe. And I will see you guys soon, very soon. I'll be back next week with more stuff. And I stream on Twitch just about every day. I took a few days off last week because my voice has been kind of terrible, but we'll stream on Twitch every day. You can see all those details on my Twitter feed. I always put notices and all that sort of stuff there. Gaming, chatting, talking, being silly, daily hangout time. Good spot to hang out with me. Everybody says, I want to hang out with you. Well, there's a good way to do it. Thanks a lot. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.